How can you make your life exciting? How can you truly have fulfillment and experience true joy every single day of your life? In this episode, I'm going to present my philosophy for how to live a well-rounded life that will keep you feeling motivated, fulfilled, and provide you with constant vision as to how best to approach each and every day. An episode that I was debating on whether or not to record, because this is not necessarily specific to health and fitness. This is more life, but I think that we oftentimes, especially people who are digesting a lot of health and fitness content, we lose perspective on how health and fitness, the role that it plays into our life. And so today's podcast episode is going to be about how I view life, the framework through which I view life, my philosophy, and how health and fitness really fits into all of it. And so the way that I want to start today is by presenting you with the question that you are always asking yourself, the question that all of us are actually constantly asking ourselves, probably not specifically, but subconsciously. We're not maybe verbalizing this question to ourselves out loud, nor are we asking it to ourselves internally, but we are subconsciously always asking ourselves this question. And it's, what's the best way to live life? Right? I think we're all constantly subconsciously asking ourselves that question. What's the best way to live life? And as I've wrestled with that question over the years, a few years ago, I really came up with what my answer to that question is. And I really believe it's kind of all of our answers in one way, shape, or form. And the answer is to be continually getting closer to the best version of yourself. What's the best way to live life? To continually work on getting closer to the best version of yourself. So the next layer to that question is, okay, if that's what it means to live life in the best way possible, what does the best version of yourself actually mean? And so I did a lot of wrestling with that question. And to me, my definition of your best you and my best me, and the best version of ourselves, is the following. The best version of yourself is the version of you who is most competent and reciprocal. The version of you who can solve the greatest number of problems and take advantage of the greatest number of opportunities, both for yourself and for others. So if nothing else that I want you to take away from this podcast is these two words, competent and reciprocal. I think that that is how we are continually getting closer to the best version of ourselves. We're working to be more competent and learning to be more reciprocal. What does that mean? Competent means that you can solve problems and take advantage of opportunities by acquiring knowledge, skills, and experience. Reciprocal means that you're also able to take your knowledge, skills, and experience, and you're able to help other people solve their problems and take advantage of their opportunities. So not only can you do it for yourself, but you're reciprocal. You also do it for other people. And so, okay, if that's what the best version of yourself means, the next kind of layer to that underneath it is, I think that we experience problems and opportunities in 6 different areas of our life. And if you've listened to the Best You podcast for any period of time, you've probably heard me discuss the 6 different areas of life that I break down. And that's your health, your personal life, your career, your finances, your spiritual life, and your relationships. Your health, personal, career, finances, spiritual, and relationships. And we experience problems and opportunities in all of those 6 areas of life. And so I kind of have coined this term, the hexagon of competence. The hexagon is a shape that has 6 different sides. And to me, all of us want to be able to form a baseline, a foundational level of competence in all 6 areas of life. And as we go throughout our life, we want to be expanding our competence, expanding that hexagon as we go throughout life. And so how do we expand that hexagon? How do we become more competent? Again, I say competence, I kind of define competence as knowledge, skills, and experience, and expanding on our knowledge, skills, and experience. And so how do we gain more knowledge, gain more skills, and gain more good experience? Well, it's by putting ourselves in what's called the zone of proximal development. What that means is you place yourself into a challenge that allows you to optimally develop. Now, that challenge, it's not too small, but it's also not overwhelmingly huge. Because if it's overwhelmingly huge, then you're going to drown, right? Like if you are teaching a newborn or a child how to swim, You don't have them just jump in the ocean right away. They're going to drown. What do you have them do? You probably have them hold onto the ledge, and they learn how to kick with their feet. And then they put floaties on and they learn how to move with their arms, right? You don't go from being born to sprinting right away. You have to crawl and then walk and then run. It's a gradual process. So the zone of proximal development is, okay, based on where you are today, how can we challenge you? How can we put yourself in a challenging situation so that it's not overwhelming and you break down and you drown, but it's just enough of a challenge so you can gain more knowledge and be able to sustain that knowledge. You can gain more skills and you can gain more good experience, right? Like if you are looking to become more proficient as a doctor, you're not going to be immediately put into a surgery room and have to perform open heart surgery as the first thing that you ever do. No, you have to work your way up to being able to perform that. And so we have to continually place ourselves in the zone of proximal development. And so I think all of us are on a regular basis need to assess where we're currently at in the 6 different areas of life. And so when I'm trying to think about, okay, there's these 6 areas of life, how well am I currently doing in these 6 areas? What's my current level of competence in these 6 areas? And so I think I evaluate, what area of life am I most frustrated in? Or what area of life do I have a really great big desire in? Or what area of life do I have a really big interest in? And let's find a way to, if I have a big frustration, what kind of challenge can I put in front of myself? And what kind of, how can I put myself in the zone of proximal development so that I can eradicate that frustration? Or if I have a big desire or a big interest or a big goal or something that I really want to learn, how can I develop some sort of goal in a manner through which I put myself in that zone of proximal development so that I can adequately gain knowledge, gain skills, and gain experience? So for you guys listening right now, I think one of my biggest questions that I would love for you to ponder on and think about after this podcast is, given these 6 areas of life, and if you haven't written them down yet, write them down: your health, your personal life, your career, your finances, your spiritual life, and your relationships. Given those 6 areas, ask yourself your current level of performance in all of those areas, and which area of life are you at the lowest level of performance at? Okay, be able to define why you're at a low level of performance there. What's the frustration that you have in that area of your life? And then once you've pinpointed that, ask yourself, what goal can I set that would allow me to eradicate that frustration? What goal would I set that would allow me to eradicate that frustration? And how can I attack this goal in a manner that puts me in the zone of proximal development? It's not very easy. It's not super impossible, but it puts me in that zone of proximal development to where, yes, it challenges me to grow, but it's not overwhelmingly so that I drowned. So that's the competence side of things. Now, the other side of things is reciprocal, and that's a little bit more difficult for me to put something tangible on as to how do we become more reciprocal, right? For me, it's easier to define. How do you become more competent? How do you gain more knowledge, skills, and experience? But how do you become more reciprocal? I think a lot of us have that baked into our personality a little bit more. We have the desire to want to serve and to want to help other people. But I also think it's something that we can grow and learn and develop more. I think if the more that we become competent, and oftentimes when we gain competence, we can only gain competence through the service of others. We can't nobody is self-made. I hate that term self-made, because nobody is self-made. Everybody has had people to teach them, to lift them up, to encourage them. And when you experience that from somebody else, oftentimes we have that innate sense or innate desire to be able to also give back to somebody. And so the more that we become competent, I think the more that we desire to become reciprocal as well. And I think reciprocal is also about having really great character, and it's about being integrity. And I think character is all about what you do when no one's watching. Are you doing the right things when eyeballs are not on you? Integrity is all about, in my eyes, being a person of alignment, being the person that you say you are, doing what you say you're going to do. Because the root word of integrity is integer, and integer means one. Integer means whole. Integer means aligned. Integer means that if you say something, you're going to do it. Doesn't mean that you say something and you're not going to do it. There's no separation between who you say you're going to be and who you actually are, between what you say you're going to do and what you're actually going to do. Integrity is all about being a person of alignment. And I think that factors into being more reciprocal. It's gaining competence and having the desire to give back to other people and lift other people up. It's being a person of character, and it's being a person of integrity. And then if this is the philosophy on life, to get closer to the best version of yourself, which means to become more competent and reciprocal, and we become more competent and reciprocal in the 6 different areas of life, then in my eyes, we need to always be working on managing all 6 areas of life at any given point in time. Also be spiking in one. So if the first thing I want you to definitely take away is competence and reciprocal, the second thing that I definitely want you to take away is managing and spiking. All 6 areas of life are critical to be managing at any given point in time. I feel very lucky and feel very blessed to have gained the interest and the desire to read, because I think one of the biggest things that I have learned through the books that I've read are the mistakes that people have made. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make in life is they desire to be so good in one area of life. And because they desire to be so good in one area of life, they go balls to the wall in that area of life, but then they neglect one or multiple other areas of life. And it's my deeply rooted belief that if you neglect one area of life, you are going to have repercussions. You're going to pay for it. And the duration of the neglect is going to be directly proportional to the magnitude of the repercussion. Let me say that again. The duration of the neglect is going to be directly correlated to the magnitude of the repercussion. If you neglect your health for just a month, sure, the repercussion is probably not going to be that big. But if you neglect your health for 10 years, I bet the repercussion is going to be a little bit bigger. If you neglect your relationship with your significant other for a week, maybe it's not that big of a repercussion. But if you neglect how to grow in your relationship with your significant other for 10 years, I bet that repercussion is going to be pretty damn big. And I think so many of us, because we have the desire, it's not like a bad desire, but we have the desire to be so competent in one area of life, and that we put blinders on in the other areas of life. And we have a unidimensional definition of success rather than a broad, expansive definition of success. Because if you are really great in your health, and look, this is a health and fitness podcast, if you are really great in your health and you are as healthy as all get out and you can live forever, it does you no good to live forever if you're miserable. If you're really good in your career and you make a ton of money and you're looked up to in your field and you have so much money, it does you no good to have all that money if you have nobody to spend it with and your relationships are crap. And I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum. If you're only about having great relationships with people and you're going out all the time and you have a bunch of friends, but you are careless with your finances, then other people are going to have to pay for the fact that you were not responsible with your finances. And so while it's important to have the desire to gain competence and be really good in certain areas of life, that doesn't mean that we should neglect the other areas. That's why I believe that we need to be managing all areas of life, but choosing to be spiking in one. What I mean by spiking is this. Spiking means that you're spending more of your finite resources than you would typically do in that area of life. Your finite resources being the 3 things of time, energy, and attention. Those are the 3 finite resources that we all have available to us, and we're not getting any more or less of them. We have time, energy, and attention that we get to devote to the 6 different areas of our life of our choosing. Nobody else decides how we spend our time. We have complete ownership of how we spend our time, energy, and attention. Oftentimes, we give up ownership by telling somebody else what we should be doing, or by completely sacrificing and not having any goals of our own. Because if you don't have any goals of your own, then you're going to become part of somebody else's goal. But ultimately, you are still the owner of how you're spending your time, energy, and attention. And so spiking is about you're going to spend more time, energy, and attention in a particular area of life so that you can either eradicate a frustration or attack a big goal or gain a lot more competence in that area. But meanwhile, you still need to be spending some time, energy, and attention in the other areas of your life. I am somebody who is very career driven, and my default sometimes is to work. My default sometimes is to sit down at this desk, get behind my computer, and crank it out because I want to build a huge business. I want to be a really great coach. I want to be all those things. I want to make a lot of money. But I feel very lucky and blessed and whatever other word that I have read other people's stories to not put blinders on and just care about work, but to care about my relationship with Kennedy, to care about my health, to care about my own emotional well-being and mental well-being, to be knowledgeable about my finances, to devote time to the spiritual area of my life, to go to church, to do a Bible app and grow in that area of my life as well. And so while I might be spiking in my career at certain times of my life, I am always learning. I am always dedicating time, energy, and attention to the other areas and defining what success means in those other areas of my life. And so I try to take a quarterly approach to what these next 3 months, what am I going to spike in? What am I going to intentionally spend more time, energy, and attention on? But then also during that quarter, how can I still make sure I'm successful in these other areas of my life? And then I also break that down on a weekly basis of these are my 6 areas of life. What does success look like in all 6 areas? And I have to give something for all 6 areas, even if it's just something small. I really want to make sure that you guys get away from this, that I think first, the competence and reciprocal. Second, manage and spike. And third, remember that success is not unidimensional. But we should have a broad definition of success that encompasses all 6 areas of life. I think oftentimes we think we'll be happy if we look a certain way. That's a very unidimensional definition of success. We think we'll be happy if we're making a certain amount of money. That's a very unidimensional definition of success. The way you look is not going to bring you happiness. The amount of money that you make is not going to bring you happiness. It's the fact that you are living the life that you are supposed to live and getting closer to your best you by navigating all of these 6 areas of life in harmony and doing it in a manner that resonates most with you. I think everybody is attacking life and should attack life through this lens of the goal is to get closer to the best version of myself. What does that mean? That means to become more competent and reciprocal. It means to have the ability to solve my own problems and take advantage of opportunities and also help others solve their problems and take advantage of their opportunities. And again, we do that in 6 different areas of our life: our health, our personal life, our career, our finances, our spiritual life, and our relationships. And because we have to navigate 6 different areas of our life, we can't just be hell-bent on being the best at one area while neglecting the others. If we do, we're going to experience the repercussions of it. We're going to pay for it. And so, can we find a way to still spend a lot of time, energy, and attention in one area, but again, we have limited bandwidth, we have limited amount of those resources, and still apply some of them to the other areas of life so that the duration of neglect does not lead to a large magnitude of repercussion. And so, again, the reason why I bring this all to light during this podcast episode is your health and fitness is super important. And to me, it's one of the foundational things of the 6, if you can say that there's a foundational thing of the 6, because if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling healthy, then your relationships aren't going to be as good as they could. Your career is probably not going to be as good as it could, maybe in the short term, but not the long term. Your relationships, your spiritual life, these things are not going to be as good as they potentially could be if you were feeling healthy, if you were feeling energetic, and you were feeling motivated, and you were feeling confident about yourself. And so health and fitness is a really important area of your life because it impacts all of the other ones. And that's what I want from the 10-week transformation, and what I want from Best You is I kind of see Best You as a vehicle in the 10-week transformation as a vehicle to elevate the health area of your life so that all other areas of life can be positively impacted from it as well. And those of you guys listening to this, you're looking to elevate the health area of your life, but you're not just doing it for yourself. You're not just looking to gain your own competence and solve your own problems and take advantage of your own opportunities and hit your own goals. Also have the goal of elevating and lifting other people up. That's part of what I talk about in your 10-week transformation is building your big, building your why. Who else has the ability to be positively impacted by this? Who else is game are you going to elevate because you're more healthy? Who else are you going to motivate and inspire to become healthier as well? Because the thing is, when you become healthier and you elevate that area of your life, therefore hopefully positively impacting other areas of your life, you motivate somebody else to do the same. So then they move the needle up in the health area of their life. And so that area of their life is more proficient and more competent, but they're also better in all other areas of your life. And so we can rise all tides together by improving our own health. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I hope you have gained some insight as to my philosophy and my approach. And again, I'm not saying that I know the end all be all. I know I'm a 29-year-old kid who hasn't experienced near as many things as I need to experience and will experience in my life. But I know that this framework that I developed for myself probably 4 years ago now has been such a great way for me to navigate life, because I'm thinking about when I'm experiencing stress or frustration, I think about it through okay, what area of my life am I experiencing this frustration or stress in? Okay, that area of my life, it's maybe let's say it's my spiritual area of my life that I'm experiencing frustration in. Okay, what kind of competence do I not have there yet? How can I set a goal in order to eradicate this frustration? And then that gives me a vision for how to move forward today, or that gives me a vision for how to move forward next year or next quarter or next month or next week. And so I think if we can have a pulse on what our frustrations are or what our desires are, we can be like, okay, how can I set a goal to develop more competence in this area and also hopefully be reciprocal with that competence that I gain? Hope you guys enjoyed today. If you enjoyed it, share it with somebody. Share it with a friend or family member who you think would enjoy hearing this outlook or philosophy on life. I would encourage you to write some of those things down. The competent, reciprocal, manage, and spike. Success is not unidimensional, but it should be broad and expansive and encompass all 6 areas of life. I hope it resonated with you. I hope you take this approach and utilize it in a manner that works best for you. But again, share this with a friend or family member. Follow the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. I hope this podcast today helps you get closer to your health and fitness goals. But ultimately, I hope this podcast helps you continue on the path to get closer and closer to your best you.